We are slowly closing all the relevant information you will need for assignment 1. Now, just to summarize what we did last week, we looked at the concept of text and we looked at the concept of genre as a purposeful or purpose-driven structure, and we looked at the kinds of selections that drive the choices that authors make as they produced a text. We have compared the purposes of those choices when it comes to comedy sketch and a persuasive genre. We didn't look in detail at persuasive genre, but we did compare the two. What we have found out that if you write a persuasive text, what you want to do is to draw on as many logical, even if they are not factual, still um, the kinds of understandings that people relate to, can they think they understand, because what you want to do is to sell the argument, right? So you want to make people think that this is the best soap on the planet. So what you do, you say to them that coconut is known to be the best thing on the planet, and this soap is 100% coconut, so buy the soap, right? I mean, it may not, nobody knows whether coconut is doing all these things. I'm making it up. But what I wanted to say is that in a persuasive text, you try to make, you try to bring as many um, powerful connections as possible so that people think that all the arguments you created actually do make sense. But you do the opposite in a comedy sketch, and that's why it's very good to actually learn one genre as, through another genre, because you can actually see how differently they actually make authors make choices. So in a persuasive genre, you want to actually reinforce connections that people already have in their culture or in their heads. Now, in a comedy sketch, you break these connections, right? So, like with the sketch about hell, what uh, Aitken was doing, what the comedian was doing, Mr. Bean or whatever his name is, what he was doing was actually breaking our expectations, and the way he was breaking them was funny. That's exactly the point of the comedy genre. It actually surprises us by breaking the things we actually expect. The name of the devil was not what you expect, Lucifer, or I don't know, whatever the biblical figures are. The name of the devil was Toby. Very funny, especially if spoken by him, but very funny. My name is Toby and I'm the devil. Really funny. You don't expect Toby to go with the devil, and that's what makes actually comedy sketches. So we looked at the genre, and what we have actually looked at was to actually say to ourselves that how is it that the comedian knows um, what to say. And what we did say, that the things that in order to know what to say, the comedian is drawing on the knowledge of the world. So he knows to whom he is talking, and therefore um, what references to draw on, and how to do it in order to make things funny. So he knows about the audience, the kinds of understandings that the audience has. So he makes assumptions, the kinds of understandings that the audience has about the world, and then therefore how to do it. So we might actually, we come back to our graph, and we will say that what a comedian knows is so the target is the audience, so he has the knowledge um, to whom he's talking, right? So therefore he knows what to draw on. He has an expectation regarding the particular frames of reference that these people actually will have, so that to use something that they actually can recognize as funny. So what to draw on? So the audience is in terms of, so we write audience. So it's just to whom he's talking, what to draw on to make things funny, and how to do it. We could think of these aspects, to whom and what to draw on and how to do it, as actually reflecting the social and personal capabilities, ethical and intercultural, because the social is the audience, right? Who is the audience, and what is it that he um, so he has to actually, before he actually makes any choices of what to say, he has to actually identify the people. So that would be the social. How to do it would be the ethical and intercultural, right? Because these things actually are important. These are the sort of, so how to do it, he'll be drawing on cultural and ethical frames of reference, because he wants to actually maybe draw on our culture, but also not to offend people. So he has to know that. And what to draw on, he has to actually make choices which are creative, but at the same time critically informed. So he has to actually make critically informed choices. So we could say that those decisions that the comedian makes are actually um, very well aligned with their social, ethical, and critical and creative capabilities. Now, we also looked at how to actually make learning interesting and how to actually bring these capabilities into the context of classroom. So what we did was, how can we actually make children interested in engaging in learning about their social context, about the relevance of being ethical, intercultural, and actually also what kinds of activities are suitable for children to have this expansive approach to their school activities. So we might have, we looked at the Google Maps, and that allowed us to actually personalize their learning, explore the community, and all that. What we did today in our classroom, in our on-campus lecture, what we did, we looked at the assignment one, because it's a kind of lecture today that I wanted us to actually summarize our understandings of that are relevant for assignment one, and then slightly build towards assignment two. So we looked again at the concept of cross-cultural priorities and all of these capabilities. We also looked at the curriculum, and so some students didn't know how to find all these curricular activities. So you just go to the, say, F10 curriculum or senior, and if you actually scroll low, yeah, you will find something like general capabilities. And if you go there, it was quite an amazement for some of our students. You have to read it. You have to read these documents. And basically, I was asking why general capabilities. So if you can see, general capabilities are a key dimension of the Australian curriculum. This is why we have them here. It was a little bit surprising to me. Some of our students didn't know what this figure represented, some of our on-campus students. Just once again, what the figure represents is a map of how we should actually look at the curriculum. Now, to be a bit more precise, these forms of capital that I actually put in there are not in the curriculum. What the curriculum has is cross-curricular priorities, which are Asia engagement, sustainability, and indigenous cultures. What it has there is these capabilities, which actually sit right under the curricular priorities. So what this means for the curriculum is, every time you design a unit of work and your lessons, they need to actually reflect these cross-curricular priorities, and then each of your units of work that you plan has to have activities and resources that address the skills which are engaged in these capabilities. This is critical, and that's what I will be looking for in assignment 1 and also in assignment 2. You need to be aware of it. So when we come back to the capabilities, we have actually scrolled through them in class. So this one will be, I might just look first at the social one, because it's the easiest one. We've done it so many times. So remember how the comedians had to know their audience? So in order to know the audience, they actually had to have an awareness of themselves, an awareness of others. They had to actually have to know how to manage themselves in relation to others, right? So that's what the social capability asks you to do, is to look at these 4 bullet points, and then you have more detail underneath. Now, what's important here, that when you read through these general capabilities and each of them, you actually get acquainted with all these bullet points. They are very important. They give you a range against which you will describe your own social, pardon me, your own literacy involvement. So all of this is in lecture 1. I don't have to repeat it, but I'm repeating this for the off-campus students just in case they will look at the collaborative session first. So you can see the range. So you can see that the curriculum actually explains what the social and personal capability is, what it involves, what kind of major skills it involves, and they are those 4. Actually, they are 2, but because it talks about awareness, so self-awareness, social awareness, self-management, social management. Right, so you have to know how to be with people, and then it gives you more bullet points. So when you describe your own engagement, literacy engagements or one engagement, you can actually look at it from these many perspectives, so that you can actually tell me about your talents and about your knowledges from these many perspectives. And then here you have examples how they refer to specific years. You can look at it too, but I think not for yourself at this very moment, because you are just too old to actually check whether you can identify your emotions, right? So anyway, but these bullet points give you a pretty good frame of reference in relation to which you could describe how a specific activity, your literacy activity, looks from the perspective of a social capability. And I'm just going to run through them a little bit, because it's very important for me for the next activity that I want to cover. Then we have critical and creative thinking. We don't have a graph here. What they actually talk about here is, and I scroll further down, it's about inquiring, generating ideas, reflecting, and analyzing. So basically what the creative and critical capability wants from you is to make sure that students can gather information, and reflect on it. So gather information, order it, and synthesize it, and do something amazing with it, right? Something amazing. So it's not just that they act like robots, because computers can do that. Computers can gather information, synthesize, and analyze if you put a right algorithm. We want them to be creative. We want them to be to illustrate how that work actually is relevant to them, to the community, and how it is ethical. And so none of these analysis and these generating of ideas is in and of itself relevant. What they gain relevance through the other capabilities, which is the community orientation and doing it in the right way, so that it actually is ethically responsible, interculturally aware. So we've got all of that. So this is the critical thinking, right? We don't have to cover it in more detail. This is here ethical understanding. I want us to scroll a little bit through it. So what it involves, I just want you to, just because I need that preparation. Understanding ethical concepts, reasoning in decision making, exploring values, right? So you need to be actually ethically aware, reason and think of why you do things and so on. Examine value, explore rights, and all of that. And then what do we have here? This is critical. So if I want to look at the particular capability, we haven't covered intercultural, so let's go to intercultural. An intercultural PDF. And intercultural is covering, as we go further, recognizing culture and developing respect, interacting and empathizing with others, reflecting. So it's recognizing culture, so being aware of diversity, being able to actually interact and feel for others, and also reflect on your own engagements from the perspective of your values and your kinds of frames of reference that are relevant to you. So students investigate, explore, and develop respect for cultural diversity and all this stuff. So you can see that the curriculum provides you with a lot of descriptors in relation to which you can describe in assignment 1 your literacy engagements, or even just one literacy engagement, but in a kind of detail that actually is amazing. It shows all the aspects of your illiteracy engagement, not necessarily in what you do today, but what you understand is relevant to actually be present for that particular activity that you want to describe, to show a fully fledged literate person. So now you pretty much are you have now a pretty good understanding of where to find these things and what they mean, and a bit of a breadth of range of adjectives or or skills that these things cover. And what we did today, we thought to ourselves in class. So that's the capabilities. Now, why did I have these social, cultural, and symbolic capitals? Cultural or educational, doesn't really matter. You can call it educational. It's 3 different capitals, right? So the reason why I actually put them in here is to help you. You don't have to use them, right? You don't have to use them because they're not in the curriculum. These things are not in the curriculum, not in a direct way. Probably you will find them somewhere in the descriptors, integrated somewhere, but really they're not there. But I have put them into your map of how to work with the curriculum, how to understand the structure of the curriculum, because if you look at these capabilities, there's a lot of these adjectives or a lot of these different skills, but they're not organized. They reflect, they challenge stereotypes, they mediate cultural differences, right? And then you think to yourself, okay, well, how can I work with it at the level of my classroom, my literacy classroom? What do I do? How do I make children empathize with others? What do I give them? Create an activity when they feel for people. And then next week I'll create an activity where they communicate with cultures or cross cultures, or they have consider how do you do it? How can you think of these things? And we had this famous sociologist who actually has given us some ideas of how to do it. Right? So this is so next what we will do is actually do as follows.